Millions of people already know Shen Yue. Her dramas have traveled far beyond China. Her characters have become familiar to viewers across Asia and around the world. And some of the projects that made her famous are still being discussed years after they first appeared. So here's the question that makes this career choice so interesting. If Shen Yue already has the audience, the recognition, and the successful dramas, why would she choose smaller movie roles? At first, that might sound like a step backward. But what if it isn't? What if taking a smaller role is actually part of a much bigger plan? Because there is a major difference between trying to become famous and trying to build a career that lasts. And that difference could explain why Shen Yue's choices deserve a closer look. Shen Yue's rise did not happen overnight. She first captured widespread attention through A Love So Beautiful, where she played Chen Xiaoxi. The character was youthful, energetic, relatable, and full of personality. Shen Yue's natural expressions and approachable screen presence helped audiences connect with her. Then came Meteor Garden, and everything became even bigger. As Dong Shankai alongside Dylan Wang, Shen Yue reached an enormous international audience. The drama became one of the major talking points among C-drama viewers, while Shen Yue herself became a recognizable name far beyond her earlier work. For many young actors, that level of success would be the dream destination. For Shen Yue, however, it may simply have been the beginning. Because once an actor has already demonstrated that they can attract millions of viewers, the next challenge becomes much more complicated. How do you prove you can do more than what made you famous? Think about it. If audiences become attached to you because of one particular type of character, there is a danger that they may always expect the same thing. The cheerful heroine, the relatable girl, the youthful romantic lead. Those roles can build a career, but they can also create expectations that become difficult to escape. And that is where smaller projects become surprisingly valuable. A smaller movie role can provide something a massive television production sometimes cannot: freedom to experiment. A long drama may give an actress dozens or even hundreds of scenes to develop a character. A film can work differently. Sometimes a performer has only a handful of important moments to communicate a character's personality, emotions, history, or inner conflict. That means every expression matters. Every pause matters. Every line matters. And suddenly, having less screen time doesn't necessarily make the role less challenging. In some cases, it can make it more demanding. That is why the question shouldn't simply be, how big is Shen Yue's role? The more interesting question is, what can Shen Yue show us through that role that we haven't seen before? And this is where things get really interesting. A supporting character can sometimes leave a stronger impression than a leading character. We've seen it happen countless times in film and television. An actor may appear for less time but deliver a performance that audiences remember long after the main story ends. Why? Because memorable acting isn't always about quantity. It's about impact. For Shen Yue, exploring smaller or less obvious roles could give her the opportunity to demonstrate range rather than simply repeat the formula that already worked. And that could be especially important because of how strongly audiences associate her with her early characters. Chen Xiaoxi, Dong Shankai, two roles that helped establish her image and brought her enormous attention. But an actress cannot remain in one chapter forever. At some point, there has to be another chapter. And perhaps Shen Yue is beginning to write it. Instead of asking, how many scenes do I have? A more experienced performer may start asking something very different. What does this character allow me to learn? That is a completely different way of looking at a project. A role doesn't necessarily have to be huge to be useful. Could introduce an actor to a new genre, a different director, a different acting style, a completely different kind of character. And sometimes those experiences can become more valuable in the long run than simply taking another enormous commercial role. But there is another important point. Shen Yue is not starting from zero anymore. She doesn't need every project simply to introduce her name to the audience. Millions already know who she is. Her career has expanded through dramas, entertainment programs, commercial campaigns, public appearances, and other projects. That gives an established actress something a newcomer may not have: the ability to make choices based on growth rather than just exposure. For a newcomer, a small role might be the only opportunity available. For an established actress, choosing a smaller role can be a deliberate decision. And that distinction matters. Less screen time doesn't automatically mean less ambition. Sometimes it means an actor is willing to move away from the safest choice. And safe choices can be tempting. If a particular type of drama has already worked, why change it? Why risk confusing audiences? Why take a character that might not immediately become popular? Because staying comfortable can eventually become its own limitation. An actress who wants a long career needs opportunities to evolve. And Shen Yue appears to have increasingly explored different sides of entertainment rather than limiting herself to one familiar formula. Her career has included acting projects, variety appearances, commercial campaigns, and film-related activities. Each experience adds something different. Some build visibility, some build confidence, some build industry connections, and some simply provide the chance to discover what kind of performer you want to become. That last part may be the most important, because popularity and longevity are not the same thing. Popularity can happen with one successful drama. Longevity requires adaptability. It requires an actor to keep finding ways to surprise audiences. And that means taking risks from time to time. So imagine Shen Yue accepting a role that isn't the obvious choice. Maybe the character is quieter. Maybe she isn't the center of the story. Maybe there is no huge romance driving the plot. Maybe the character is emotionally complicated. Would audiences initially wonder why she accepted it? Probably. But that curiosity could become part of the appeal. Because when viewers already know what to expect from an actress, the unexpected becomes interesting. What happens when Shen Yue plays someone completely different? What happens when she has fewer scenes but has to make everyone count? What happens when the audience stops seeing the familiar Shen Yue character and starts seeing something new? That's where a small role can become much bigger than it appears. And there is something else fans should remember. Not every project needs to be judged by how much publicity it receives before release. Sometimes the real value becomes obvious only after audiences watch the performance. A role that initially looks minor could become a turning point. Not because it suddenly makes an actress more famous, but because it proves she can do something audiences didn't expect. And for someone who has already experienced major popularity, that kind of discovery can be extremely valuable. Of course, fans will always have different opinions. Some will want Shen Yue to return to a major romantic drama. Others may prefer the youthful characters that first made them fall in love with her work. And some fans may be more excited to see her tackle mature, emotional, dramatic, or completely unexpected roles. All of those reactions are understandable. But there is one thing worth remembering. An acting career isn't measured only by the number of scenes an actress receives. It's also measured by the characters she can successfully bring to life. That is the difference between having a hit and building a career. A huge drama can put an actor in front of millions of viewers. But one carefully chosen role can reveal what that actor is actually capable of. And perhaps that's the bigger picture with Shen Yue. Maybe she doesn't need every project to be the biggest production of the year. Maybe she needs projects that push her, projects that challenge her, projects that allow her to discover another side of herself as a performer. And if that is the direction she is taking, then the phrase small movie role might actually be misleading. Because the role may be small, but the lesson could be big. The experience could be important. And the impact on her career could become even bigger later. So let's return to the question we started with. Why would Shen Yue take a smaller movie role when millions already watch her dramas? Maybe the answer is surprisingly simple. She may no longer be focused only on getting more people to watch her. She may be focused on giving the people who already watch her a reason to see her differently. That's a much harder challenge, and perhaps a much more rewarding one. Because becoming famous can happen through one unforgettable role. But becoming a truly versatile actress takes time. It takes experimentation. It takes stepping outside the comfort zone. And sometimes, It means accepting a role that looks small on paper because you can see something bigger hiding inside it. So instead of asking how small Shen Yu's next movie role might be, perhaps fans should ask a different question. What could that role help her become? Because the biggest career moves don't always arrive with enormous headlines. Sometimes they begin quietly. One different character, one unexpected project, one chance to prove something new. And if Shen Yue is using these opportunities to expand her range, then this may not be a step away from the spotlight at all. Could be a step toward a much longer career. A career where she isn't remembered only for the dramas that made her famous, but also for the risks she took after she became famous. And that may be the most interesting part of Shen Yu's next chapter. The question isn't whether millions will watch her. They already do. The real question is, what will they discover when they watch her next?